Hello, hello, and welcome. We are live with our next session here. This is going to be a silver sponsored session. A big thanks to both Toby and Valerie of the Tenacious Telecommunicator for being a silver sponsor. And please take it away.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Valerie D'Antino with the Tenacious Telecommunicator.
And I'm Toby Akers. I'm the founder of the Tenacious Telecommunicator.
A little bit about me, 26 years in 911. I've been doing this for a minute. The training coordinator at the New River Valley 911 Center. And I'm excited to be here and talk about some of the things that Toby and I have talked together to learn things together, to kind of grow in the industry. I don't think I have to um, tell you how important it is to keep growing. I'll let Toby tell you a little bit about himself.
So hi, my name is Toby Akers. I'm the training coordinator for the City of Roanoke 911 Center in Virginia. Before that, I worked with Valerie. I was a communications officer at the New River Valley Emergency Communications Center in Montgomery County, Virginia. I have about 5 years in the industry, about 10 years in public safety total. But I'm also the founder of the Tenacious Telecommunicator, which mission is to cultivate an environment that values tenacity and the advancement and education of 911 professionals. So that's why we're here today and excited to share what our knowledge with you all.
Slide. Morning from Georgia. Hey, there's a lot of people here. So what we want to talk with you about today, I don't think it's necessary for me to say 911 is an important position. Everyone here knows that. Sometimes we have to be reminded of how the small things that we do make such an incredible impact. And 911 is a huge critical role in public safety. And again, that's not news. But what might be news is to give you an opportunity to remember how important each thing you do is critical, even the very small things. And the things that keep us engaged help us to do those small things in a big, impactful way. So I guess I want to talk about how professional development, and I know that's what we're doing here, it's a conference. Part of it is professional development. And it's been said that a workforce, so a 911 center, is made up of a top 5% and a bottom 5% and a center 90%. And at the top, we have our go-getters. We have the people that are involved. We have the people that are volunteering for committees and give me another assignment. And they're thirsting and hungering and just grabbing onto every training, and they're growing and growing and growing. And then, as you can imagine, the bottom 5% are people who are disgruntled. We all know them. Don't put their names in the chat. So the people who, it's a job, it's not a profession. I have to show up, I need to pay my bills. And we all do need to pay our bills. Um, those folks are very unhappy, and they make sure everyone knows that they're unhappy. And that can infect that other 90%. Typically, that top 5% are insulated from that, but you have this whole 90% that's untapped potential. Those folks are maybe neither skyrocketing, but they're not in the disgruntled phase. And so we want to talk about, if you're in the 90%, you have so much opportunity to move. And if you're in the bottom 5%, you can change. We do know that. Change happens every single day. There's no doubt about that. So change is possible. So we want to talk a little bit about some of the things that we can do in 911. Slide. So some of the objectives we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how we need to build our foundation, how we can advance our skill set, and we'll talk about more than, I guess it's really listed here: networking and overcoming some challenges.
So part of kind of developing that untapped potential, or really tapping into all the potential that you have in the industry, because there's so much, there's so many opportunities that people people have in our industry, and some of them we don't know about, some of them are readily available, and we don't um, take them up on whatever they're offering. Maybe there's scholarships. I know there's scholarships all across the country for 911 professionals, for professional development, new certifications, things like that. But when you actually look at it, there's only 2, 3, 4, 10 people applying for those opportunities. So this session really talks about um, tapping into those things. So first, we'll talk a little bit about knowledge, skills, and abilities. And that really starts with having a strong foundation. You want to be able to build all the additional skills that you have, but you first need to make sure that you understand that you need to know how to do the job and do it well before you can start adding in all these extra things. You want to have that strong foundation. Um, you have to really work through those entry level roles and really develop all those required skills that you need. Um, you can't really expect to advance if you can't do if you are if you want to be a supervisor and you can't even enter a dispatch call, a call to be dispatched, then that's probably not an area that you'll thrive in, at least in the dispatch center. um, some other knowledge, skills, and abilities. A lot of our centers are moving to emergency medical dispatch. So having those skills, taking the time outside of your normal work hours to really get an understanding of all those different things and how they all play together. Then things like APCO, Public Safety Telecommunicator, or NINA's core competency classes to really get those skills in on that core level, um, on your entry level things. Um, some other skills like communication, problem solving, multitasking, critical thinking, all those things are super important. And then the training itself, gaining different certifications, various things like that is super important. And then some key certifications that kind of um, you can work towards are various certifications from APCO or NINA. They have a whole course catalog that you can browse and look through on their website, and they have classes available that are online in demand. So you can do it from your console, or you can do it from home. Those type things. You don't have to travel somewhere. Some of the classes you do, but not all of those. Then we have CPR and first aid classes to further enhance our skills. EMD, EPD, EFD, all those certifications. Um, and then it's also important to remember that we shouldn't become stagnant. We have to continue honing in on our skills and our abilities to really understand that this is a career. We're trying to continue to pursue our passion, and we want to be the best that we can be in the industry for everyone. So we want to make sure that we're doing those continuing education classes, keeping our skills up, keeping our knowledge. If policies change at our agency, we want to be able to really understand those type things. Valerie, did you have anything else on this topic?
I wanted to just ask everyone in chat, and we don't necessarily need to comment on them, but I want you to share together, because it's so hard to get to trainings. And we thank you, Ricardo, for this, because this is the kind of thing when people say, I need training and I can't go anywhere. And I say, well, dare to be great, 1, 2, 3, and now 4. What online trainings have you done that have been beneficial? Like, if you could just share in the comments, if you've done a NINA course or another course. There's lots and lots of consulting and training firms out there. Uh, Share something that everybody else might benefit from.
Absolutely. We'll give some
Well,
people some time to type some responses.
there's some.
Absolutely.
Where
Absolutely. Having
where
those.
was that class, Chris?
Yeah, because I think I need that class for my role, having those difficult, crucial conversations.
And Ricardo, I'm with you. At onboarding, I start talking about Rapid SOS, and we took an online. Yes, find that link for us, Chris. Rapid SOS has lots and lots of training available, and we make sure everybody sees that. Corbin, TEEX activist, awesome. If anybody has links to these things, we are nobody is gatekeeping anything here. If these are things that are either free or we can look at and consider, Toby already brought up scholarships that are out there, incredible list of scholarships available. If you want to link a scholarship link, if you want to link a class and say, hey, it's not free, but here's some ways to get to it, we don't want to gatekeep any of that information, and be sure to share that with us. And this will be, important later when someone watches this in a month or in a year. That class might be the class they really need.
Absolutely. These are some great suggestions that are coming in on the comments. Okay, so next we'll talk about the role of mentorship. So it's having a mentor or having somebody that you can really rely on is super important. I know that I wouldn't be where I am today in the industry without some type of mentor. And we're not saying that you need a person that's great at everything. They don't have to be great at difficult conversations. They don't have to, and training and supervisory responsibilities and operations. They don't have to be great at all those things. You can have different mentors in different areas. That's what's great about mentorship. And having that diverse perspective actually really helps you think in a different type way. Um, excuse me, sorry. Um, so having multiple mentorships, if you have somebody in operations and then you have somebody in training, maybe you have a topic that kind of crosses both. So you get both of those perspectives from your mentors, and then you can determine a path forward on how you want to respond to that or how you want to do different type things. But another good thing about mentors is when you connect with somebody, it's so important to have that sense of community when things go um, not your way, or maybe you interviewed for a job and you didn't get the position. So you reach out to your mentors and they can provide you that emotional support as well, and really say, hey, maybe this just wasn't the position for you. Um, Another one will come up soon. Something like that. Just be very encouraging, understanding, and really support you in whatever way that you need. So you definitely need some type of mentorship, and it doesn't have to be anything formal. Your agency doesn't have to have a mentorship program, or you don't have to participate in a mentorship program. Just be able to connect with people and um, be willing to say, hey, are you willing to mentor me? Or let it be a little bit more organic and just kind of start pushing information back and forth from one another. And the important thing about mentorship too is the person that's mentoring you is also gaining information from you. They're learning and growing from you as well. It's not just a one-way street. Um, you're getting information as well, and also mentorships can be within professional organizations. It doesn't have to be one person. It could be a group of people. Maybe you um, want to connect with the community more. So you find a local organization that does a lot for the community. So you connect with them and start um, doing events and partnerships and things like that with them. Um, but it helps your confidence. It really helps you continue. And then once you get to a place where you feel comfortable, you can start mentoring others and make sure that they are climbing up the ladder just like you. I think that's super important. And again, I wouldn't be where I am today as a training coordinator at 26 years old and owning my own business without some type of mentors in this industry. So, um, Valerie, do you have anything to add to that?
I do. He's not wrong. Everything he just said is dead on the money. I would love people in the chat to share your experiences with mentorships, whether you sought one out, whether you were able to mentor someone, or if you have one of those organized mentorships in your center, and how it's working, because we all need to share those resources. We don't here at the New River Valley, um, in Montgomery County, Virginia, we don't. I, however, have tried to create just a tiny organic um, version by taking my newly released trainees, so they're now independently working, and ask them to just sort of gently be available to our newer people, so that things like, um, how do you save money when you have to, eat 2 meals a day on a 12-hour shift, or I'm having trouble communicating to my supervisor some of these different requests or being heard, and getting some insight from somebody else who is very much a peer. They're just newly released, is very helpful. Then mentorships, of course, can, skyrocket. You can have mentors outside of our profession that can aid you in ways that actually end up applying to your profession. So um, don't dismiss the possibility of a mentor being hidden in plain sight.
Absolutely. And Valerie mentioned something that's super important, that peer-to-peer mentorship. Um, a lot of people will really resonate and connect with that much more when it's another peer that they're speaking with. People will follow that guidance a little bit more than if it's something something that they don't have a connection with. So it's super important to really have a connection with your mentor, um, to establish that partnership. But like Valerie said, excuse me, add those comments in the chat about any mentorship experience that you've had, or if your agency has a formal mentorship program and what that looks like. I'll let Valerie take this professional development slide.
Bless you, by the way.
Thank you.
So professional development, 891 people here. Obviously, you all think it's an important thing, so I don't have to convince you of this. But I want to remind you that it doesn't always have to be that you've attended a conference. This is such a wonderful, accessible thing to do, but there are online courses that are perhaps just articles, or um, something slightly adjacent to the 911 profession, but in public safety, that can help develop your professional skills and apply in your center, whether it's through emergency management and FEMA. You can get involved in your police department aspects if you're a consolidated or a standalone center, or you can ask to be included in your law enforcement and your um, fire and EMS partners, and ask to be included in some of their courses for anything from, just learning more about extrication. You aren't going to pull anybody out of a car likely, but learning more about it helps you to do what you do better. And it builds those partnerships with our brothers and sisters on the other side of the radio. And I think that's so important. That's a huge part of professional development, is that we recognize that we're building relationships while we're learning. And those relationships, I'm not talking about contractual, they'll serve us later, but having those important relationships help us to grow together and help us to um, call each other out when we need help, make mistakes, and get support. All of those things are important in professional development. For me, for many of us here, and many of you are at home on your day off. I know you are. And some of you are sitting at the console right now. Investing in yourself is the biggest message I would like you to take away from talking about professional development. If you have to take a vacation day to go to a free class that was offered by a grant, and you're not endorsed to go, or you can't be paid for that time, or it happens to be your day off and you can't collect it as time, it's still worth the investment. I promise you it is. There are so many additional um, certifications that you can get. You can start thinking about critical incident stress management, peer, um, tactical dispatcher, negotiations, lots of different things like that. I don't know if there's anybody here that has the um, mobile dispatch where they would be deployed. We know that in the recent hurricane, we had a lot of people be deployed through tactical dispatch, and that helps you to kind of see that there's a lot of other places to diversify. And I might be getting a couple slides ahead, but there are other things aside from talking to the community who are in a crisis or in need of medical or law enforcement services. And there are more things. There are radios, and then we have tons of vendors here. There's also the private sector. So there's enormous opportunities for growth. And I would just encourage you not to pigeonhole yourself into I'm a frontline 911 professional, and that's an important thing. But that's all I can do, because that's not true. And we'll talk some more about that a little bit further along. This would be a great place for me to also, and we'll talk about it at the end as well, to let you know that if we're talking about professional development, get yourself to any of the other conferences. There's APCO, there's NINA, there's state conferences, there are other vendors, software communities, and we ourselves will tell you about our conference here toward the end. I think I'm ready to move forward.
Okay.
No, you go ahead. I just letting you know I was done.
Okay. And another thing about professional development, I can share a little bit of my personal story about professional development. I really wanted to advance my career in 911. So I started the industry, and I was one of those eager people that says, like on the first couple weeks, I was like, I want to be a director. I'm going to be an admin. I'm gonna do these type things. Like I want to be more in the industry. Like I just wanted to absorb more. So I was a little bit more about the first 2 years. I was like, I need to make sure that I completely understand the industry. So I took time to first make sure that I completed training, and completed it well. And then the next year, I took honing in on my skills and making sure that I knew the systems in and out. And then I said, okay, I really need to focus on my development. Like, what skills and abilities do I need to advance in the industry? And so I, out of my own pocket, paid for my 911 supervisor class, paid for my NINA CMCP class, um, and several other classes that I took personal vacation time to do, and then went in um, and just took those classes, paid for my hotel, paid for my travel, all that on my own. And then when I applied for this job as training coordinator, um, that was one of the things that the manager says that really set me apart from other candidates was my willingness to ensure that my development was my top priority. Like I was constantly developing myself. I wasn't staying stagnant. I wanted to keep developing myself and making sure that I took the time to make sure that I had the knowledge and the skills to fill the role.
I think that's really important to recognize that nearly everyone's training manual says something like, we're obligated to provide you this training, but your training as a new person, new staff member, your training is your responsibility, your investment in yourself. Not that nobody wants to pay for that. That's not what I mean. I mean, you have to have a commitment. There has to be initiative, and that drive is where when you see that drive is where you see advancement. So if you're in training right now and you're struggling with something, ask for help. No, people can't help if they don't know about it. And if you are unsure about something, and like maybe I've made it through training and now I'm in the scary land of they've let me work independently, um, but you feel a little uncomfortable, ask for help. That's where, accidental mentorships happen. You can get with a trusted colleague and say, listen, I just really don't understand entering a stolen vehicle, or I don't know what to do if I have a pursuit. I didn't get one in training, and help me. Uh, those kinds of things are the ways that you can advance your career. Yes, it takes some effort on your part, and in Toby's case, and I've done it too. I've paid for my own certifications. There's a there's a great ownership in that. There's it's not just a pride, and it's not a braggadocious kind of thing, but there's a big ownership in what it is you've accomplished when you've put your blood, sweat, and tears into it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So another way to make sure that you're developing and accessing whatever potential there is for you to also be doing work on yourself, not just how we do in a pursuit, and not just um, how quickly I can get a call entered, but the soft skills and the emotional intelligence of having empathy, being able to communicate clearly, being able to listen, understanding others' perspective, being able to self regulate will all translate into success for you. Everything I just talked about can translate to speaking to someone in crisis. Our 911 callers are sometimes not just reporting that there's been a fraud on their credit card, they can be having an intense behavioral health crisis or have a loved one that is. And having those skills where we can regulate ourselves so that we can be available to pour into somebody else's cup when they're having an emergency is what we've all been called to do. If you're a 911 professional, you have at some point said, I want to help somebody. And I believe you. We have to help ourselves. We have to be whole and healthy. We're not always whole and healthy, but if we're setting an intention for it and striving for it, we will be prepared for the constant onslaught of other emergencies. We put out fires all day, right? And another part of this is you have to recognize when you need to tap out. You have to recognize when I need to be the one to ask for help. I'm not well. I'm not well enough to help my next caller. And if you don't have that person where you work, go to your supervisor. And if it's not your supervisor, go to director. And if it's not them, contact me, contact a trusted friend. There will be somebody that can help you navigate that. And I would not want to lose another wonderful 911 professional to being ready to tap out. I understand when we need to, and I think we have to do what's very best for ourselves. But my point here, I guess, is that if we develop some of these skills and uh, learn some ways that we can build resiliency into our life, and that is, by the way, that is a prerequisite. It's something you have to do proactively. We can react to it and we can try and heal from things, but um, when we proactively work on that skill set, we are better equipped to handle what the 911 profession throws at us.
Absolutely. So now that Valerie kind of talked about the people, I'm going to kind of touch on the technology just quickly. So some other aspects of the job. Our job is very technical. We always have constant technology changes. We have a CAD upgrade. We have a phone upgrade. We're getting a new system that does X, Y, and Z. Um, our industry is always changing as far as technology. So it's our job to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to understand what that system can do for us, for our responders, for our citizens, to make sure that we're providing the best education possible for them. That's super important. So you need to be able to use those resources that are at your fingertips that your agency has purchased. Or if you see something when you attend a conference or something like that, you need to bring it back to your agency and say, this is a really good piece of technology that I think would be helpful for our center. I know when I went to APCO this year, I saw a piece of technology and I brought it back and said, hey, I would really like this within our center. I really want it. And we're working on the project to get that over the finish line now. So don't be afraid to say, hey, I would like this, or I want this, or don't also be afraid to reach out to your vendors and say, hey, I wish your system did this, or your system is wonky with this. Don't be afraid to kind of reach out for those type things. So then we're switching a little bit back to people. We kind of already talked about this with the mentorship, but the importance of networking, establishing relationships with people in the industry, with other organizations within your community to establish partnerships and community, whether you have a community involvement team or community engagement team within your center, or you're just out in the community making some type of education or something like that. Networking is super important. So you're wanting to meet others. You can do that through conferences. LinkedIn is a common way that we network with one another. Through taking online classes and online conferences, things like this. We're connecting with people, we're meeting new people from all across the country, all across the world, even. But it's important that you establish those relationships in your community, not only for you never know what those connections will bring you, bring your center, those type things. So reach out to people in your community, in your region, to say, hey, I'd like to work on a project with you. I'd like to partner with you. Or is there a way that we can partner? All those type things. So, and then just the biggest thing, all you have to do is kind of introduce yourself and then kind of state your case. Like, hi, I'm Toby. I'm the training coordinator for the City of Roanoke 911 Center, and I want to partner with you on this project. Is this something that we can schedule a meeting to discuss? Hi, my name's Toby. I'm the founder of the Tenacious Telecommunicator. I would like to have you come to my conference. Can we talk about that a little bit? It's just really about establishing those relationships that we kind of already talked about. Valerie, I'll let you talk about getting involved.
So, we've talked about networking, but there's also a whole lot more in the 911 profession. And honestly, Toby's probably a better person to talk about this, but I'm going to reach out to the audience. As a member of NINA, as a member of APCO, there are so many opportunities to be involved with the advancement of our profession. Whether you're doing 911 Goes to Washington, or on a local level, if you're in Virginia, 911 goes to Richmond. If you are on an EPCO committee or a NINA Wellness Committee, I would love for people to chime in right now. And if you're on an EPCO or a NINA committee or another committee that is doing important things in the industry right now, we've got, setting training standards, we've got all kinds of other things. I would love for you to chime in so that people can see there's 892 people. Like, I would like to know what you're working on. I'm going to be the first to admit I'm not on an APCO or NINA committee, but I'm on some DCGS committees where I'm doing some subject matter expert stuff with Marcus Alert training and with Virginia training standards. So awesome. Keep going. I would love to hear more of these. So advancement in our career isn't always a promotion, and it isn't always a pay raise and a title, but being involved and being connected to the industry can have payoff later on for those things because you have so much involvement and so much invested. And in doing that, and I'm sure Roxy, a bazillion, doing that is a gift to yourself. There's so much that people that get involved in these committees do that ends up feeding their soul. And so if you are in that 90% right now and you're feeling untapped and you don't really want to be a supervisor and I don't want to be a director and now I'm going to retire in 10 years and I don't want to get involved in this. You have so much to offer the industry. Get involved in one of these APCO or NINA committees and let your experience shine there and share.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm seeing all these comments, and these are amazing comments. And Chris's comment about having your local politicians or elected officials come in and listen to calls, those type things, that's super important. Um, I know that our governor in Virginia sat down at Chesterfield's 911 center and sat with a dispatcher, listened to calls for an extended period of time, and really tried to understand what we're going through. And I know I'm on the Virginia APCO Legislative Committee that plans the 911 Goes to Richmond event and kind of helps that process along to try to get us enhanced retirement benefits, all those type things. So those being involved, you make a difference. And you don't have to be on a state or local committee. Your agency could have committees that you could be involved in. Maybe you're really interested in CAD. Maybe you could be on the CAD provisioning team, or you're really involved in the community and want to be on the community involvement team. I'm not sure what committees, if any, your agency has, but that's another option. It doesn't have to be this grand thing at the national or state level. It can be in your communities as well.
This is another area where maybe it doesn't look like a big payoff, and maybe that's not a promotion, but do we have anybody who is their agency's CPR instructor? Raise your hand if you are. Give yourself a little pat on the back because we need you. We know that we have to keep our CPR certifications up, and there are other ways to stay involved in your profession. Again, not necessarily that you've applied to be a supervisor. Yes, Rhonda. Not necessarily that you want to be a trainer, but learning ways that maybe you can be a peer mentor. Maybe that's a committee you'd like to start. That would be, it's maybe it's not a promotion, but that would be something that would keep you engaged. And that 90% that we're trying to push up to the 5% is who we're talking to here. If you are feeling like I'm a placeholder, or I'm doing the things and I'm happy with it, but you maybe want more, there's more. Just look for it. And sometimes maybe you need to create it or invent it. There can be all kinds of outreach that you can do. You can say, hey, there's some thing going on downtown next weekend, and I'm just wondering if I can have a table and go down there and um, create some kind of 911 awareness. And you can teach children how to use 911. You can invite civic groups in and talk with them, which, by the way, can help you develop your public speaking experience. Um, there's things that we can be doing with. We talked a little bit earlier about tactical dispatch and with our other agencies that we're supporting. So don't pigeonhole yourself. There are other things. You can go to your supervisor and say, is there anything that you do and it's maybe excessive and I could help you? Because eventually, if you're doing something like that, you're building a skill set that you'll need as a supervisor. So if you do decide to move forward, you're learning something, you're helping someone, you're being engaged, and then you're making yourself more hireable.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nobody here is burnout, right? No, everybody's fully staffed and nobody has run into one headache after another. We know that's not reasonable. There are a few places that are fully staffed, and I applaud you right now. I hear about them and it sounds like a unicorn, but I know you're out there. So you're doing something right, and I appreciate you. Um, but I want to make sure that people think about taking care of themselves. I know we talked about resiliency earlier, but it's important to also um, be able to identify when you're overstressed or burned out, and maybe you're recognizing that you're withdrawing or that you're not attending the committee meetings that you said you would, or you're getting some non-compliant EMD calls, or maybe your pod mate is like, are you okay? There are lots of ways to start to recognize that maybe you're not as well as we could be, and take some time for yourself. Take care of yourself. If you cut your finger, you're going to the doctor. And if you break your leg, you're going to the hospital. And if you are not fully emotionally well, we should be seeking help. There is nothing wrong with asking for help from others. There's nothing wrong with participate. I shouldn't even have to say this. I would like to rephrase that. It is important to get talk therapy and other kinds of therapy in order to stay well. And I am a huge advocate for that. And I'm sure there are others that are as well. Um, it's not, it's not a sign of weakness, as I know public safety, we sometimes have that, uh, we can handle everything, suck it up, buttercup. Those days are over. And we all recognize that sometimes we need help. And I want to encourage you to remain vigilant, not just for yourself, but for the people next to you. So if you see something, you need to reach out to somebody and talk to them.
Absolutely. So the next thing we want to talk about is advocating for yourself. You need to make sure you're an advocate for yourself. If you see a process that's not working, or you want to change something, have a new initiative, be able to bring that to the table and advocate for it. That's your ideas, and also bring different skills and abilities through performance evaluation show that you're worth what you're worth. You're worthy of. You do a great job. You do hard work. Make sure you're advocating for yourself. You're giving yourself credit where credit is due. You're working hard. You're showing that consistent results, and those leadership qualities. You want to overcome those um, any gender or diversity barriers that may be out there. Um, and then again, just seek that mentorship and that guidance on how you can navigate it a little bit. Valerie, do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
I think it's important if you're having performance evaluations to show up with your own professional development plan. Your supervisor is likely going to have one for you. And what an advantage to say, and also, I would like to earn my ENP. And also, can you help me get involved in uh, words? Words are hard sometimes. Emails coming across. Uh, get involved in a scholarship so that I can earn my RPL or some of the other certifications through Nina, like CMCP and things like that. Um, Also advocating for yourself, showing up as a change agent. I am somebody, being able to say, I am somebody that has helped to uh, implement this new process that we knew was going to be hard. Um, don't be afraid to list your accomplishments.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Next, it's also super important to have work-life balance. It's funny that I'm kind of talking about that because I still work towards this every single day. I know me and a supervisor here kind of go back and forth, and she's like, "Why are you doing this? Why are you here? Why are you doing all this extra work?" And then the next day she'll be here doing all that, and I'm like, "Why are you here? Why are you doing all this extra work?" So I am still working on my work-life balance too. Um, but it's super important to have some type of balance in your professional and personal life. I know one thing that I do to try to keep myself balanced ish is I make sure once a week I have something planned with a friend group. For a while, I was watching The Bachelor or The Bachelorette with some of my friends. Then it moved to Dancing with the Stars for a while, every week. So a consistent thing that I do every week that kind of has that same time frame um, is just that kind of helps you if you can kind of establish a day or a specific event that you're trying to do that you can get together with um, your friends, your whatever community structure that you have, or like a civic organization or something like that. It kind of forces you because you're not going to work all this time and then say, "Oh, well, I don't want to go dilly dally with my friends." Um, so make sure you have that balance, though. Make sure um, it doesn't really, most of, like, I don't know, depending on what type of role you're in. Um, some of us don't even get overtime for, um, some people don't get overtime for doing all that extra work. So a lot of the work, even when you're in a new leadership role like I am, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so urgent. Like I need to get this done because I need to prove myself in this new role. It can wait till Monday or tomorrow or whenever you're back in the office. So that's just super important to have that culture.
I think it's really important to remember that we can create our own boundaries. We don't have to work every single overtime that's put up. And yes, we aren't going to let the mission fail. I get that, and I'm for that. Um, and and I agree with that. But we also know when our families need us, and we need to say no. And it's a day I have to be with my family. Um, there will be a time when, you will have to do something that's hard and extra, but then there are other times that you can protect that space. And I just want to, it's called balance. It's not going to be easy or perfect. We're always going to be teetering. So it is effort. That's what, if you've ever been on a balance board, you don't want to see me do that. It's a mess. And balance is effort. So it does take some intention on your part. Sorry, I overtalked, and I know we're running short on time. I'm sorry, Ricardo.
Listen, we still got 3 minutes. We're gonna fill our time, Valerie. Um, so our really call to action to every one of you. One of the first things that we really encourage you to do is take that first step in your career growth. Seek out that additional training, that some of the things we talked about. Really develop yourself as not only a person, or not only as a professional 911 dispatcher, but also as a person. Develop those soft skills. Maybe you want to be better at writing, so you want to take a professional writing class. It doesn't have to be industry specific things. It could be just those soft skills that we kind of talked about. So that first step is really taking that additional training. Valerie, do you want to go with the next one?
Yeah, joining associations. Again, it doesn't have to be industry specific. Our industry needs you. Roxy would support me if I said this, Yes, join an APCO or NINA committee, and I need to commit that for my own self. I need to do that very soon. But outside of the industry, there are other ways to develop yourself. Join the Toastmasters and learn to be a public speaker. Become involved in, Boy Scouts or a literacy campaign. There are ways that those things will serve you in developing your skill set in your career in 911.
Absolutely. And the other thing that we want you to do is reach out to potential mentors. Kind of figure out who in your life that could be a potential mentor, or figure out what you want to do and see who's already doing that, and see if you can reach out to them and say, hey, I really want to be a mentor, or I really want to be mentored, excuse me, in this area. This is my goal. I was wondering if you could be my mentor. So really establishing that mentorship.
That was all I had on that one. You want to talk about our conference?
Yeah, absolutely. So
1 minute.
Our conference is let me step back a little bit. So our conference, this is our second annual Tenacious Telecommunicator Conference, which is called the Triple T Conference. The T stand for training, togetherness, tenacity. It's in Southwest Virginia, so Southwestern Virginia. So it's still in Virginia. It's not in West Virginia. It's in Virginia. It's in Abington. It's in March of 2025. You can find information on our website, thetenacioustelecommunicator.com. But it is March 25th through the 27th. Registration is $250. This is like I said, our second annual conference. We have a great lineup of speakers, and our keynote speaker this year will be Andrea King Smith. So it's a great lineup. It's a great way to network and connect with people. And this is the second year we're doing it. The first time we had people from 13 different states. So it was absolutely amazing, an amazing experience. And you will join us, Valerie.
We would love to grow our community, not for our pleasure, but for our collective pleasure. Being a part of the conference is such a community feel, and you can do something as small as just visit our website or join our Facebook group. But we would love to see you at the conference, because that connection, that feeling of this person is, in 2 states away or 4 states away, and they're experiencing some of the same things I am. And what a great feeling to have a connection. And then, I've developed mentorships with some folks that way, and it has been so supportive for me. You never knew what I needed, and it's a wonderful thing to have um, that community feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anybody have any questions? You can put those in the comments if you do. I don't have anything else. I don't think Valerie has anything else, but she does. She can. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here, Melissa.
All right, excellent. Thank you both very, very much. That was some excellent information, and yeah, people that engaging, throwing in the information in there as well, saying thank you so much for the session. It's going to be great too because I love how you were asking all of these questions and having people add resources in here as well. And I did say it in the comments already for the chat, but I'll just say it again here for anybody who's watching on replay. All the stuff in the comments will remain, so the whole chat session, people can go through and add all of that information in there. That's why I threw your links in there as well to make sure that people check out the website for more information in general, but also a direct one that goes straight to where your conference is going to be. And just the networking that's out there with a lot of whether it be online trainings, in-person trainings, but also conferences as well, especially in-person ones as yourselves. Those connections, man, sometimes later on you realize, oh, that was actually the person that I met at, whatever place, and those full circle moments, you're like, all right, like this, there's those connections that sometimes you don't think will turn into anything, and then sometimes will end up being the biggest ones that you end up having. So I love that you had all that information there and that people are going to be able to come back and watch this for all time, that it's going to be up. There's no time limit on the replay or anything. It will be there, so it'll be there for everyone. So thank you both again for what you do and for being here and being a silver sponsor. I just thank you very much for coming on and sharing all of your information. And those who are watching, make sure to reach out to the both of them. They got a lot of things going on. I especially see you both on LinkedIn all over the place. And Valerie, specifically, some of the videos that you post up, I'll be like getting down as well when I see them. I love it. So I dig it. Thank
Thank
you
you for
both
having us.
very
This
much.
was wonderful, and I'm looking forward to the next couple days.
All
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, excellent. Thank you all. We are going to be going to the next session. I will bring you all over there momentarily, and we will be with our keynote speaker, and that is going to be Lauren Sisler, and it's going to be an excellent one. So we'll see you all in the next one here in just a moment.